Sunday, February 26th. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Finally, two major winter storms move into the northeastern parts of this country for the latter part of this week, even for the beginning part of this week. In fact, a series of low pressure systems, even more than two. There's actually four systems that are going to be moving across places like Johnstown, New York, but two main storms, snowstorms, that will be moving across the area. The Albany, New York National Weather Service has informed us of really very precise details on exactly what is going on over here. We have a low pressure system that will be moving from the Great Lakes into the northeast, but that's the primary low. A secondary low develops off the mid-Atlantic coast and then moves out to sea. Precipitation is going to move into the area, and precipitation amounts between 5 to 11 inches is forecasted for parts of the Albany, New York area. 5 to 8 inches for most of the bullseye. The widespread bullseye 5 to 8, but some 8 to 11 inches possible in the upslope areas. Lesser amounts of 3 to 6 inches in more of the downslope areas. Boston is included in this significant snowfall amounts with 2 to 5 inches, perhaps 6 inches in the Boston, Massachusetts area, with Tuesday morning commute being affected. Precipitation rates in some locations may reach or exceed 1 inch an hour. This is a major snowstorm. Moderate to heavy snow. This has been a rarity for this part of our country, and it's not exactly been a snow drought for most of this area, but some of this area has been in somewhat of a snow drought, and they will be seeing a significant snow. Finally, it's happening at the very end of February. In fact, it's the very last day of February. That's meteorological winter. We finally get a major snow for the New England area and portions of New York. Now, we head into the second part of the week, and that's where the real big significant snowstorm could happen. There's potential for a major winter storm, and you cannot rule out Baltimore yet. It does look like the storm track will be taking the snow north of Baltimore. That's what it looks like. However, if you look at both the world models, both global models, the GFS and the European model, actually there's even a third one. If you look at all three that are available on the windy.com, the German model, you'll see that all three of them show that Baltimore will be getting around 1.3 inches. So that's the GFS, and the European model has Baltimore for 1.3 inches. The Icon model also says Baltimore 1.3 inches. The difference between those three, however, is that the GFS and European computer model cover the next 10 days. So they cover the entire storm, and they're saying just 1.3 inches for Baltimore. The Icon's saying 1.3 because they don't cover the full period yet. So it looks like the Icon model is the one that would be bringing more significant snow to the Baltimore area, something more than 1.3. I don't know exactly, but in general, it seems like the places that are getting significant snow, you have Johnstown, New York, that might be to the north of the bullseye, or they might get hammered. They could get nailed, or they might be to the north. The European computer model, which is available on windy.com, shows approximately 17 inches falling on Friday night to early Saturday morning in cities like Johnstown, New York. You go into the New York City area, it's a major snowstorm, according to what the European computer model says at the moment. I believe I saw places getting around a foot and stuff like that. The strong northeast winds that you see that are forecasted in many of these cities gives you the good signal that we are dealing with a significant nor'easter over here. And Boston, Massachusetts should get in on the action as well. We will see the precipitation mixed with rain, or at least that's potential. The storm track is key, but the New York National Weather Service really tells us the real key is to figure out what's going to be going on with the high pressure area situated over in southeast Canada. That's going to determine the storm track. So while it's true the storm track is key, but what's key to the key? What's going to determine the storm track? It's all about that high pressure. So I think the New York National Weather Service has explained it the best. We have high pressure over in southeast Canada. Knowing the more details we know about that high, that's going to tell us how much cold air, the cold air is at what depth, and also how expansive will that high be. Will it be able to suppress the storm to take a more southern track, which might even end up being south of, right along Washington, D.C. Wintry precipitation, at least on the backside, is, I think it's probable, a very good chance of it, at least for Baltimore, something for Baltimore. This would be this upcoming Friday night. But the higher confidence is really for places, well, it really starts in New York, the northern half of New Jersey. That's where you really start to see higher snowfall totals. And this is already March. We're getting into March. This winter, the meteorological months have basically, they are a snow drought for these places. We have significant snow coming in for probably the northern suburbs of the New York metro for the final day of meteorological winter, but nothing of a winter storm warning criteria as far as I know, but still winter weather advisory criteria for portions of the northern New York metropolitan area. But finally, as winter ends, the meteorological winter is over this Tuesday. That's the last day. Meteorological spring starts Wednesday. This nor'easter has potential major winter storm for this upcoming weekend. And you can't rule out Baltimore yet with this one. At one point, Baltimore was actually included in the bullseye. According to yesterday's model, showed a very significant snow over there. But New York is really where it starts right now, and just very little when you get south of there. We're talking about an inch. We said 1.3 inches for Baltimore. But when you get to the New York area, those accumulations start to go up to a foot, and to the north of that. The Boston, Massachusetts National Weather Service is pointing out this is the first time that we have both global models in agreement of a major winter storm for this upcoming weekend. So it could now be forecast. It is in the forecast right now. There are uncertainties, but there's enough confidence in it because we have two global models, and we actually have more than two. But the two main ones that everybody likes to talk about, both the GFS and the European model, show a major winter storm going through the Northeast, the New England area for this upcoming weekend. Yes! So it's certainly reasonable to forecast something like that when you have both global models forecasting this. In regards to the Midwest, technically, this first system will be bringing heavy wintry precipitation again to the Midwest. Both of these storms will be affecting the Midwest. The first one is going to be reserved for the very upper Midwest. The second one is the one that we would have to look into. I've not gotten a chance to look into it. I am aware, however, that wintry precipitation will be falling in the Midwest for the second one. It's just something that needs to be looked into. Anyways, this is something which is very exciting for lots of people on the East Coast. People who are desperate snow enthusiasts that live in Baltimore are just like hanging on to this because this might be the one. Because if this isn't the one, then what are we going to do? Because temperatures are going right back up after this storm moves through. So this is the one that is the one, hopefully, and we're going to see what happens. New York, Boston, Albany, New York, it looks like those are the areas, Boston, Albany, New York, New York City, these areas are where we could be getting some really heavy snow of a foot, maybe more, for this upcoming weekend. We'll have to stay tuned. Here's the area forecast discussion in regards to the major winter storm later this week. This is from the New York National Weather Service. This was issued 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, February 26, 2023, and we're skipping to the long term. This covers Tuesday night through Sunday. High pressure builds over the area on Wednesday with fairly benign conditions expected. The next frontal system moves into the area late in the day on Wednesday and into Thursday night. Models differ on how they handle this approaching system, where the GFS and European Computer Weather Forecast model bring a primary low over the Great Lakes and develop a secondary low along the cold front somewhere over the area. The CMC brings the primary low overhead, which may result in a slightly cooler solution. The consensus now is for any precipitation to be in the form of plain rain with a strengthening southerly flow ahead of the cold frontal system. The system moves eastward by Thursday night with a brief period of dry weather expected ahead of the more potent low-pressure system expected to impact the area by Friday. Models remain uncertain as to the exact track of the system set to impact the area late in the week. Overall, an energetic vorticity maximum rounds the base of a trough over the central U.S. on Thursday and ejects toward the east coast, allowing for a rapidly developing low-pressure system to approach and impact the area. The GFS has been consistently more progressive with this system and has the low pressure passing overhead, resulting in a mostly wet and warmer solution. The CMC and the European computer model have been a bit slower with the system, and it remains a bit more suppressed to the south as high pressure over southeastern Canada prevents the system from quickly moving off to the northeast. This would result in a colder and snowier solution for much of the area. The placement of this high pressure will be critical in determining how much cold air will be at the surface and where the low pressure system ultimately tracks. Thereafter, high pressure moves in for the weekend.